Disclaimer here. I've always been an emotional, stupid, short-sighted wrecking ball of a person. I wish I could say this was out of the norm, but it's not. I've been in therapy since I was about 11 years old. I met my wife back in 2005 in a nightclub in Lower Manhattan. She was an amazing person, and we connected right away. We dated, then got married in 2007. I was 23, she was 25. But we were in love, and being married that early in life didn't really matter to us. We actually had a lovely marriage, and I loved her deeply. She loved me. I was shocked at how much we got along for so many years. Meanwhile, most people in relationships started to hate me after like 3 months. She still adored me after 7 years of being together, but leave it up to me to screw that up completely. In 2014, I had suspicions that she was cheating on me. Not strong suspicions, but she had this coworker who she was friends with who was, well, really attractive. I just thought, why be friends with this guy? She didn't often make friends with her coworkers. Why was this guy a friend specifically? Because he was hot? She was secretive about him, which made me way more suspicious. I remember one day she told me that she had a secret about him, which she would eventually tell me. I probably should have just listened and understood what she said more. The hints she was dropping seemed really obvious in retrospect, but I didn't get any of them. For a bit, she got defensive over her phone. That was when I sort of began really suspecting things. One day, I checked her phone and all I saw was him texting her saying he really needs to speak with her right now. Like a bunch of texts. Also texts about sort of inappropriate sex stuff. But it was really the "I need to see you now" text which threw me way the fuck off. I didn't even confront her. That's the worst part. I just left, and I went out to New Mexico to stay with my parents. I was so sure she cheated on me, and nothing could convince me otherwise. I was so hurt that I actually contemplated ending it for a little bit. Then I went to therapy and got a little bit better. But I blocked her in every way possible. She had no idea why I left. My therapist kept telling me to contact her, but I never listened. I actually lied to my therapist and said that I did. There were some times where she called my parents and I talked to her just saying that I knew that she cheated, that I couldn't be with her. That was that, before I'd hang up. It was too horrible and emotional, and I just wanted to put it all behind me somehow. I wanted to act as if it never happened. I just didn't have the balls to deal with it. I didn't file divorce papers at the time. I never explained anything further than that. I just hung up whenever she called. In 2015, I painfully reconnected with her. I never told her why I left. I felt horrible about it, but I was also angry at her for cheating. I never wanted to know who she cheated on me with, or what the situation was. I just wanted her out of my life. But when I finally connected with her, I just found an entirely new person. She was now in and out of rehab. She was a pill addict. She said it started after I left her, that she had a lot of pills left over from a surgery she had, and started taking them a lot to deal with the pain of me leaving her. Then she connected with her friend who started selling pills to her. Anyway, after a bit more of talking with her online over quite a few weeks, I eventually told her the situation as to why I thought she cheated. It was sort of this unspoken thing beforehand. I told her I didn't want her to bring it up. Then I just asked her straight up. And that's when she told me, that coworker that I was so nervous about, he was gay. She hung out with him a lot, and he would often call her and text her to come over so they could talk about his problems. I checked his Facebook. He came out officially as gay in 2014. Before that, he was closeted. Also, the inappropriate sex stuff that they were talking about suddenly made so much more fucking sense. They were comparing the way women and men have sex to the way men have sex with men. But it didn't seem obvious by the text I read. It just kind of sounded like they were planning a backdoor affair with each other. In retrospect, it seems painfully obvious now, but at the time, it just wasn't. I couldn't see it. I just wish I didn't freak out and leave. I think if I even had mentioned his name, it would have clicked for her. and she would have told me that it was all a misunderstanding, but she had zero idea why I suspected her of cheating in the first place. I left my wife, practically never spoke to her again, and went halfway across the country over a misunderstood series of texts that I read because I was a sneaky fucking bastard and was too emotional to even ask my wife what the problem was. I just bounced, never asked her to clarify a thing. Unfortunately, she would go on to become a heroin addict, graduating from her self-admitted pill addiction. She would post sometimes about how she was 3 weeks sober, but it's never been longer than that. Now, I'm basically an alcoholic and live near my parents in Albuquerque. I have zero interest in finding a girlfriend. Instead, I just have a bunch of meaningless one-night stands when I go out on weekends. I'm almost always hammered or coked or Adderalled up when I go out. I sort of have friends, but not really. They're just a bunch of alcoholics and party people in the area who I link up with on weekends. I can't be away from my parents now. They're the only people I enjoy being around. I'm just an emotionally fragile mess who feels like they completely ruined someone's life over something so fucking stupid. I know it sounds dumb, but for the past few years, my parents are the only friends I have, and the only people I really see besides the people at my job, and the women that I sleep with, ones who I never make connections with. I can't help but think that I'll never actually get over this. The fact that I ruined her life over something so stupid. I go to therapy, and it helps, but just not enough. Up until early 2024, I'd still speak with my wife on occasion. Although there was never the possibility of rekindling, I still took pleasure in getting to speak to her. I'd also emerged from these conversations hating myself even more for what I put her through, what she had become, and how none of it was fair to her. But even that, I could never outright admit to her, the person that mattered. Instead, I just quietly hate myself even harder before seeking out some form of relief at the bottom of a bottle. All of our communications, though, faded around March of 2024. I'd send messages, hear nothing back, and part of me thought, good. She's realized she doesn't need me checking in on her anymore. She finally sees that I'm the one that put her on the path that she's on now, and for her sake, she needed to cut me off. That wasn't it, though. She had overdosed. She had done too much one night while by herself and passed away with no one there to help her. As I'm sure you can imagine, I blame no one but myself. My days are tough. It's been over a year since then, and I just can't get past the feeling that I set forth a chain of dominoes falling that caused her to lose her life. I hate myself for it. I don't know how to forgive myself, and I don't think I ever can. It's become abundantly clear that she deserved far better than what I was ever able to give her. My friend coming out to me has been one of the worst experiences I've ever had. My best friend T, 30 years old, male, and I, a 32-year-old female, have known each other for about a decade now. We met through mutuals, and shortly after our friendship took hold, I went through a very traumatic event in my life, as I was assaulted by my ex-boyfriend. He went to jail for it, and my life was in complete shambles. I have no problem admitting I was a broken human being, and T was there for me. He held my head up when all I wanted to do was leave this world. He got me through some of the darkest days of my life. Well, fast forward to about 2 or 3 years ago. T had confided in me that when we met, the reason he started talking to me more in the first place is because he overheard me telling a friend of ours about an argument I had with a coworker involving trans rights. Basically, I told the coworker to stop being an asshole. I don't even remember this happening, but it stood out to T apparently. He was drawn to my compassion for the community. And after telling me that, he told me that he enjoys cross-dressing. I had no idea about this, but I was like, oh, cool. So, are you trans? Gay? What do you want me to call you? What's your shoe size? He said, no, it's not like that. I just like to cross-dress is all. I like high heels. So I said, slay. and just went about our business. That was it, at least in my mind. Now, I'm not a girly woman by any means. I don't exactly know how to coordinate an outfit. I don't know what shoes work with what ponytail. I'm not the one to go to for stuff like that. I think you can kind of see what I'm saying. I just exist in my band shirts and skinny jeans. But ever since T came out to me, our friendship has deteriorated. He constantly digs for reassurances from me. He needs to hear me say or read in a text that I support him. But it's like, how many times do I really need to repeat myself? We often fight. Him telling me I'm going to change my mind about trans people someday. He told me he isn't trans, mind you, so I just stay confused. That I'm susceptible to propaganda from media that I don't even consume. That deep in my heart, I must hate him. That he probably disgusts me. And this always comes out so randomly that I get blindsided by it every time. My issue is, in my world, actions mean a hell of a lot. I bought him so much stuff to wear. I watched as he does his fashion shows. I've advocated for him to be himself in front of our other friends as well. And yet, when he's feeling insecure, he lashes out at me. I constantly feel like I'm the one under attack, or under some kind of microscope, while I'm just existing in this life. I'm tired of defending myself out of the blue all the time. I can't be responsible for his emotional well-being at every turn. When he hears of new executive orders or trans and sports drama or some Project 2025 thing, I don't want to be the punching bag for it. To be clear though, I would Anne Frank him in my attic if I had to. I don't associate with any political party. I tend to be anti-government if anything. In my heart, I know it's right and I've always stayed true to it. I've always supported the LGBT community. So why am I the one that constantly takes the lashing from him? He always follows the barrage of accusations with profuse apologies that I'm not doing anything wrong, things along those lines. But truthfully now, I just wish that he never would have told me in the first place. We were the best of friends and now there's nothing but tension and fear. I don't want to be around him anymore. I don't want to talk to him anymore. I don't feel like I'm a bad person. I've never carried hate in my heart. But so often he makes me feel like I've been wrong about myself. That somehow I do have a deep flaw within me, one that I'm unaware of. I never want to go through this again. I never want someone to come out to me again. I've been miserable, and although I thought this would be a beautiful thing for us, this has been an awful experience from the jump, and I'm just done now. Update. I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for the support that you've shown me. Many of you suggested that he needs therapy. I agree, and a few months back, I scoured our local resources to find him therapists that specialize with the LGBT community. I sent him links as suggestions, and recently, he started seeing someone. Many of you also suggested that I tell him what I've written here. Again, I have. I went to him before the internet, I promise. He just spiraled again after recent political events, and things got ugly for us once more. I know that this is going to be a long road, one where we either continue on together or go our separate ways. I think only time will tell. It's been more than 20 years, but I still remember that night as if it happened last week. Or at least the parts of it my mind has allowed me to keep. Some of it feels like a foggy blur, but the fragments that remain are the kind that just never fade. It was 2002. I was in my early 20s, driving around late at night with a few friends. We weren't doing anything wild, just talking, laughing, killing time the way you do when you're young and don't want the night to end. It was just one of those calm evenings where everything feels still. The roads were quiet. We hit nothing but green lights, all of which reflected across the windshield. I wasn't speeding, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't even distracted. But none of that mattered in the end, because in one split second, life changed. A woman stepped into the road. From what I was later told, she and her friends had been walking along the sidewalk after drinking. She must have lost her footing or wandered off balance into the road. But I never saw her. Not before, not as it happened. My brain must have shielded me from that moment completely. I don't remember the exact sound of the impact, or even if I braked. I don't remember pulling over or getting out of the car, but what I do remember is the aftermath. It was sudden, chaotic, and it felt almost like a dream. When I finally became aware again, I was standing in the middle of the street. The headlights from my car cut across the pavement, and there she was, lying face down on the asphalt, screaming. Her friends were already around her, their voices rising and falling in panic. My own friends had rushed out of my car and surrounded me, but not one of us said a word. The only sound in the world at that moment was her. She wasn't just crying or moaning. She was wailing. This raw, animalistic, unfiltered agony. And that sound is one that I still hear bouncing between my ears even today. I remember walking towards her, slowly, until I reached a point where she could see me from where she lay on the ground. One of her friends must have said something like, "That's him. He was driving." Because she turned her head towards me, eyes full of terror and rage, and started shouting. Her voice cracked as she screamed. "You paralyzed me. You fucking paralyzed me. My life is ruined. I can't move anything." Those words didn't sound like an accusation. They sounded like a curse. And up until this very moment of my life, that's exactly how they felt. The rest of the night is broken up in my memory. The flashing red and blue lights from the cops, the paramedics lifting her onto a stretcher. I remember her still screaming as they carried her away. I remember the officers questioning me, their faces grim. They thought I was drunk. They arrested me on the spot. But at the station, I blew a 0.00. No alcohol, no drugs, no nothing. I was cleared of any legal wrongdoing, but it didn't feel like freedom. It just felt empty. The days that followed were worse than anything I could have prepared for. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time I closed my eyes, I just saw her lying there. Even though the police said it wasn't my fault, I couldn't make myself believe it. That's when the harassment started. The girl's family and friends found out who I was, and they were convinced that the police had made a mistake, that I must have been drunk, that I must have lied to get out of it, that I'd somehow gotten away with something. They called my house, sent letters. I even heard from friends that they reached out to them just to call me a murderer. For more than a year, it followed me just about everywhere. I finally started therapy because I couldn't function anymore. I was having panic attacks, nightmares, flashbacks of the accident that I didn't even remember experiencing. My therapist told me that what I was feeling was similar to survivor's guilt, even though I wasn't the one who almost died. It just didn't make sense to me though. She was the victim. I was the one who hit her. I didn't feel anything like a survivor. Therapy helped a little. It helped me to learn how to breathe again, how to drive without shaking, how to make my way through life without feeling like a ghost. After a few years, I started to find small pieces of normalcy. I got a job, tried to build a life. I even reached a point where I wanted closure, where I thought maybe if I could apologize to her, if I could see her again and tell her how sorry I was, I might finally be able to forgive myself. So I reached out to her family. I didn't expect forgiveness. I didn't really even expect a reply. I just wanted to know if she was okay. But what I got back was something that I didn't expect. They told me that she had taken her own life less than 2 years after the accident. I can't describe what that moment did to me. It was like my chest collapsed inward. Every ounce of progress I'd made over the years was gone in an instant. I was right back on that street. The screaming, the flashing lights, the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Only this time, her words carried new meaning. When she said that I'd paralyzed her and that her life was over, she'd been right, because now she was gone. From that day on, I've carried this pain everywhere. I got back into therapy, but the guilt never really went away. You can't reason yourself out of something like that. You can't logic your way around the fact that your actions, no matter how accidental, contributed to someone else's death. I've built a normal life since then, or at least something that looks like one. I got married, had kids, I walk our dogs, mow the lawn, go to work. On the surface, I'm just another middle-aged guy living an ordinary life. But it's when the nights get quiet that I hear her voice. The way it broke when she screamed that she couldn't move. The way she said her life was ruined. I still hear that. It echoes in the back of my mind like it's happening all over again. My wife knows everything. My kids don't, at least not yet. A few of my friends from back then know too, but it's not something I talk about. When I do, I feel like I'm confessing to something unforgivable. People can say it wasn't your fault all they want, but it doesn't erase the reality that I was behind the wheel that night. And that's the thing about guilt. It doesn't care about intent. It doesn't care about legal outcomes. It latches onto you and becomes part of your identity. Sometimes I think about reaching out to her family again, once more, not to ask for forgiveness, but to tell them that I still think about her, that I still see her in my dreams, that I wish more than anything I could go back and stop the car or drive a little slower or something. But I never do, because I know that to them, I'm the man who took their daughter's life. And no matter how much time passes, I'll always be that person. 23 years now. Most people from my past probably don't even remember the accident, but I do, every single day. I think there's a part of me that never left that street back in 2002. People don't think of me as a victim, and even in my own mind, I'm not. But that night took something from me too, something I've never been able to get back. When people talk about trauma, they usually think about the person who is physically hurt. But there are moments in life where everyone involved gets scarred, just in different ways. I'll never know if she'd forgiven me, or if she ever could have, but I still find myself saying her name sometimes when I'm alone. Even after all these years, when I close my eyes, I can still see her lying there in the street. I can still hear her screaming that I ruined her life. Because whether anyone believes it or not, those words have been true for both of us ever since.